Net.
Yo, check it, tune in.
Con un nuevo show.
Young Love Talks.
Young Love Talks.
A partir de las 7 cada miércoles. After 7 p.m. every Wednesday, tune in.
Hablando de los temas que más te interesan como pareja.
Speaking about the realness. What's going down? What's going on?
About the good things, yeah.
About the chocolates and the flowers. And about the things that go down every hour. RadioUNT.net.
Te invita, we invite you.
Young Love Talks, Young Love Talks. Can't miss it. We're talking about what you're doing with your selfies, what you're doing at your job. Did you left the iron on? Did you forgot to put on the gas? Yo, about everything.
Somos diferentes, yeah. Díselo a la gente, no te lo pierdas.
Every Wednesday night at 7. Yeah. Young Love Talk.
Young Love Talks.
Hey, welcome to Young Love Talks with David and Doris.
What's up, y'all?
It's such a pleasure to be with you. And thank you so much for those that are tuning live and also for those that are watching after. So thank you so much. And today we have something special to share with you guys. If you follow us on social media, you probably already know what it is, but we want to say it on here on this segment because today we made our last car payment, which means, if you want to tell them,
That we are 100% debt free.
it's gonna be
We're gonna have to clean
clean
this up
later, but that was but that was fun. We are excited. We are so happy that we made that last payment, and what that has meant for us is that we are debt free. And so, how does it feel, babe?
It feels, I don't know if great is the word, if that encompasses everything that I feel, but I feel free. I feel, well, we felt like a sense of freedom coming in with everything, like just knowing that I know where my money's going. Like I feel organized, and props to you because between us two, you're the one who's way more organized than I am. So I definitely wouldn't be here if I were still single in my life. I'm more of a free spirit. I probably have a lot more pairs of shoes. I probably have a lot more music stuff. But these are sacrifices that we made. So now that we're debt free, now we're like, this is awesome. This is
Which
great.
I mean, we complement each other, right? Because I'm the nerd, quote unquote, let's say, and you're the free spirit. And so you're that reminder 100%. To me that it's okay to have fun.
Yeah.
It's okay to celebrate, which we are going to celebrate after we've reached this milestone. And so this leads us to our topic for tonight. We're going to be talking about marriage and finances, which I think it's not a topic that a lot of people like to talk about, because I think that finances is another kind of taboo topic other than talking about sex. And it's like you kind of cringe just hearing finances or money. Like it just feels so personal, right? But we want to share with you what are some of the things that has helped us in our marriage, and also a biblical perspective about what God says about debt and money. And these were things that we went through, experienced, and so we want to share it with you tonight. And so our big why, like why did we choose to be debt free? Why did, we want to say, no more car payments or goodbye student loans? Why?
Goodbye credit cards.
Right.
Because it's it's a change of lifestyle. It really is, because you got to say, all right, I'm going to make sacrifices now in my life and not live my life like everybody else is living right now necessarily. Like maybe, spend a little here, enjoy a little there, but really sacrifice and go cold turkey on it.
Yeah.
So that later on we can enjoy things that perhaps majority of people can't, because they're still paying off some debts.
Right. And so we want to share with you our why, and you can find it in Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 12. And it says, "The Lord will send rain at the proper time from his rich treasury in the heavens, and will bless all the work you do. You will lend to many nations, but you will never need to borrow from them." Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 12. This was our big why. I mean, this was God saying, you are called, you were created to not be the borrower, never be the borrower, but be the lender. And so it really caused us to question, well, why have we made decisions in the past to acquire debt, right? And it seems like in society, it's normalized to have debt. It's like everyone has debt, or people don't even talk about it. And what you see is wealth, quote unquote. You see the nice clothes, you see the nice cars, you see the nice house, but you don't know how much debt that person is in. But what they're demonstrating is, oh, that person has a lot of money. But in reality, that person has a lot of debt. Now, I'm not saying that that is everyone. I'm just saying that, we go through that comparison game like, man, I wish I had that job. I wish I had that amount of money. And just going back to what the Word of God says, in that He's calling us to be the lender and not the borrower. And that's really what God's blessing is calling us to. And so, you've seen it, right? It's just flooded everywhere.
Before I think I even had a job, I was pre-approved. I remember, I got
for a credit card.
Yeah, for a credit card. I came home I was so excited too, because this is before I had learned a little bit more. But the fact that a credit card company would lend me $3,000 or to whatever that limit a month was, I'm like, oh yeah, that means that I can go shop for this, I can go shop for that. And in some ways I kind of did. And then I was at the end of the month like, oh man, I didn't work as much this month, so I couldn't pay everything off this month. It's okay, I'll pay it off next month. And I thank God, well, I got married pretty quick after I graduated too. So when we got married, obviously we chose to merge our finances together. So obviously I wasn't making the decisions on my own anymore. We were making decisions together.
So I was like, hold up.
She said, skirt. Yeah, we ain't doing that. We ain't eating out that much.
Which we'll talk about it. What are some of the things, the decisions we made before marriage and right after marriage? Because that first year living together, that's when it really became real of, whoa, why do you want that? Or why can't we do that? And so we were,
we bumped heads.
Yeah. And so it was a learning process. So we'll get into that. But going back to, we're flooded with letters, emails, you're pre-approved for a credit card. And then there are ads, improve your credit score. And the new thing, the recent thing has been Afterpay. That option has been added to a lot of online shops. So you'll shop for something, but you'll pay afterwards, right? And so it's just normalized that debt is okay. But going back to God's word, it really doesn't match. And so I'm going to read to you another verse that has impacted our lives, and it is in Proverbs chapter 22, verse 7. It says, "The rich rules over the poor, and the borrower is a servant or a slave to the lender." So every time you take out a loan from someone. It doesn't matter who. It could be your friend. It could be your family. It could be the credit card company. It could be, right. It could be Toyota Financial Services. And, you know, the Bible says, as soon as you take out that loan, you are a slave to that person. That means that person has a hold on you. That company has a hold on you. And so that spoke to our lives when we're going to get into this, the class we took, the coaching we took, and the decision why we decided to be debt free. And for me, I had a credit card and I would pay in full all the time, but just the simple knowledge of I didn't want to be a slave to nobody. Like, God has not called us to be a slave. So that for me was like, you know what? I'm about to cut some credit cards. I'm about to be like, that's it. Because you don't own me. Like, I belong to God.
So are you telling me you were like, what's that movie? Confessions of
Oh, yes.
Alcoholic?
Yes.
Was that you?
I love that movie.
I know you love that movie.
If you have the chance to watch, it's a girl movie, so chick flick. But if you have the chance to watch Confessions of a Shopaholic, that is my movie, because I feel like I identified with her, just like, you know, you get into this role of, I need to buy that shirt. I need to buy those new things. And it's like, no, you don't.
You want to hear a funny story? One time, this is before we were even married, dating, or anything. I'm going to tell them this story.
My gosh.
One time, we were headed to church for a youth service, right?
Okay, but you got to tell them how old you were.
I was a kid. I was like maybe like 15 or something like that.
And I was...
You're
20-something?
20-something, right? So we were going to church. We were both in the band.
Dang,
she was the lead singer. I was I guess I was playing guitar at the time.
Yeah.
Okay, so we went to the mall. She picked me up to go to church. We're rushing to get to church. But before that, we stopped by the mall because Doris needs to get new jeans for the service.
New me.
So we're already rushing to get to church on time for the rehearsal, for the sound check, but she just has to stop by. So we went into the mall. She buys a pair of jeans for $90. And this is like a few years ago. This is before jeans were like, I mean, jeans were expensive.
It was more than a few years ago. Stop.
This is $90. But I was like,
yeah.
We were just friends at the time, but I'm like, man, $90 for a pair of jeans. And she's like, don't worry, I'll return them after service. I'm like, what?
Yo, my past life.
She says, swipe on the card.
Right. My past life.
Yeah. So I think, it can be a very dangerous road. I know a lot of people, and like Doris says, it's normalized to be able to be like, you know what? I'm just going to take my card and I'm going to swipe it because
it's nothing.
I'll figure it out later. I'll figure it out later. I'll pay it off later. I can do this. I got to treat myself. Parks and Rec. Treat yourself. I have to treat myself because I've worked hard. So
I deserve this.
Yeah, one swipe won't hurt. I remember one time we had once we started, to realize like, okay, there's got to be a better way to live. There's got to be a better way to manage my finances. We were getting coaching from somebody at our church about financial management, or stewardship rather. And he said, if you go buy a TV for $400, right? And you swipe with the card, you'll walk out there happy. But what if you go back the next time you buy a TV and you pay cash and you pay in $1 bills? You're going to be counting all $400 for $100 bills, $100 bills. I can't talk. And that's going to hurt you. You're going to feel like it hurts you a lot more. And he taught us an important lesson that when you swipe or when you just make those decisions on the fly, it teaches you to desensitize that pain or just I'll figure it out later. So what you're really doing is you're giving away those hard-earned dollars that you worked hours for, that you worked weeks for, depending on, I don't know where you work, but it could take you a while to save up those $400 if you said, I'm going to go pay cash. So that taught us a very valuable lesson, that we didn't want to be desensitized to the decisions that we were making. We wanted to be conscious of what we were doing, and we want to be able to say, if I'm going to make a purchase, I want to I want to do it right. I want to do it the right way. I want to do it a better way, because there's got to be a better way.
Yes. So we're coming up to a break, and we want to thank you, first of all, for tuning in. And when we come back, we're going to go over some of the decisions we made before marriage, and then the decisions that we made after being married that first year. And it's going to help you a lot, especially if you're single and you're like, what do I need to look out for? Or maybe you're married now and there are some things that you can adjust with your spouse. So we'll be right back on Radio Unite.
Yo contigo siento que vuelo, y lo que tú me das no merezco. Dime dónde ir, no iremos. Solo quiero estar a tu lado. En cada amanecer me inspiras, y el anochecer sé que brillas. Sé que en ti puedo confiar, nada nos puede separar. Cuando me miras mi mundo cambia. Si paso por la lluvia la calmas. No existe nada que a mí me falta. Si te tengo aquí, mi dulce más de lo que mira mis ojos, y yo te sigo donde tú quieras. Cruzaré la tierra entera. No importa lo que pase en mi mundo, mi universo en ti está seguro. Sé que en ti puedo confiar, nada nos puede separar. Cuando me miras mi mundo cambia. Si paso por la lluvia la calmas. No existe nada que a mí me falta. Si te tengo aquí, mi dulce acércate, te quiero ver, te buscaré, mi dulce amor, mi dulce amor, acércate, te quiero ver, te buscaré, mi dulce
Young Love Talks with David and Doris. Tonight we are talking with a special topic dear to our heart, especially because we made our last car payment. We are debt free. So amazing. We are talking about marriage and finances. So we just talked about our why we decided to go debt free and looking at it from a biblical perspective. And so now we're going to get into some of the decisions that we made early on. So this was when we were courting, and we were not even engaged yet. But we were learning about each other, falling in love, obviously, and just loving that time of getting to know one another. And so, obviously, this is a different of getting to know each other versus living together in marriage. So that's going to be different what we did in marriage. But before, we did have those discussions about what would we like to do in our job? What is our job?
Do we have a job?
Right.
You should start there.
Yes, because you don't know. You're learning.
Yeah, you could be students or you could be lazy. Maybe either one.
Right. And you want to get to know that person's character.
Yeah.
Like you said, are they hardworking? Do they have a good work ethic?
And when you're getting to know somebody, obviously you can't predict and say, oh, like you got good potential for your future. Like, oh, it looks like, we can make a good match because you have good potential. I think that, yeah, that's a great, way to measure whether or not you want to be with somebody. If you have, you see yourself in the future, but like she's saying, I think it's also important to see the patterns in that person's life. Because if I see a pattern that, and again, everybody's financial situation is different, right? So, but for example, when we were going out in college, we used to eat out a lot, right?
On dates.
Because, we would go out and where are we going to meet? We're not going to meet at the house and cook. We're going to go out and we're going to spend that money. And so, that was a pattern that we had, that we would eat out a lot. Or for some people, it could be we love to shop. We love shopping. For somebody else, it could be whatever. I like buying certain things. But I think realizing or talking about the patterns in each other's lives is important, because that shows you, okay, are these good, healthy patterns that I should continue? Or are these things that we should reconsider now that, we're planning on getting married and starting a life together?
Right. Let's say the person has had many jobs where they're constantly, giving up, and there could be different reasons for it. But let's say, the person doesn't follow through. Just pick up on that pattern. Like, hey, this is probably something that you have to work out in your relationship with God and, become more mature. Or maybe it's, you see the other person, they're a good saver, or just look at the patterns. Do they go shopping a lot? Do they have new clothes a lot? And does that match with their job, their income, right? And those are things that you just look out for. And obviously, as you're getting more serious with the person, we're not saying that on the first date, start asking these questions like, what's your job? What's your income? No.
Yeah, how much you spend on clothes?
Don't do that. No. It's more when you're getting serious, and especially when you're getting to the point where it's like, yeah, we're in love, because it's really hard to start looking at the outside when you're so in it, right? And so it's good also to look at their family life, their friends, and starting to see what are those patterns. Another thing that as you're getting serious when you're planning for your wedding, this is a big thing, okay? When we got married, which was almost 5 years ago, people spent $40,000 on a wedding.
Average.
In our area. Average-wise, in our area. Who has $40,000 to drop down in cash to be like, that's it? You know what I'm saying? So those are things to really think about. One of the things that we do not recommend is going into debt even before you're married.
For your wedding.
Like, don't do it.
There was I'll never forget, one time we were scrolling through Instagram. We were planning. You know how It's kind of scary how it seems like your phone can hear you, and it monitors like it's really scary. It listens to what you talk about or what it hears on the microphone, and then it shows you ads about those things. It happens to me all the time. While we were getting prepping for our wedding day, we were engaged already. We were probably talking about chairs, tables, like the catering. We were talking about all that stuff, and I get ads for financing your wedding day. So we'll let you borrow X amount of money and you can pay us later. Stress free. We'll take care of covering the wedding, and you take out a loan. That covers everything, and you're good to go. You can get married and you pay it little by little. And we looked at it and we're like, I mean, at that point we were like, okay, we already knew that we didn't want to go into debt for the wedding day. We had a budget, and we decided that we wanted to stick to that budget because we wanted to be able to go on our honeymoon and say, that's over. That
was our first payment.
Over. Yeah, that actually was our first purchase.
Was the cruise.
Because we said, if everything else fails, if the wedding day is horrible, if the limo crashes down, if it rains, if people don't show, at least we can get to go. We had a cruise for our honeymoon. At least we get to go on our cruise. So
and because we received counsel that, you know, wedding day, yes, it's nice to be with your family and everybody else, but the honeymoon is really for you guys. Like, that's where you should have. Can you imagine a honeymoon for $40,000? I mean,
that'd be nice.
Right, that would be nice. So just thinking about, you're going to build a life with someone. So thinking about that purchase, don't go into debt for your wedding. Now,
if you have $40,000 for your wedding,
right,
and you want to spend it,
go ahead, do it.
Go for it. But if you have $5,000, you have $10,000, do not feel the pressure or the urge to say, I need to spend more because this is what people are doing nowadays, or because it's not going to be good enough. I think 2020 has proven that you can have a wedding with 10 people and spend as little amount of money as possible, and you're still happy. We had 2-3 friends that got married over the pandemic. And of course they had to make sacrifices, but at the end of the day, they got a leg up on their first year marriage when it came to their finances, because they didn't have to spend that much money on their wedding day, and they were able to think ahead and say, what are we going to do next time? What can we purchase with this? Can we get a house? Can we pay off our cars? Can we pay off our debts? Whatever we want to do, we can do with that money. So I think that is a good tip that they gave us. Don't just think about the day of your wedding. Think about the marriage and the lifestyle that you want to build after that day.
Another thing is we talked about our values. So a huge value for us is our relationship with God. And so before going into marriage, we knew we're going to put God first. What that meant was we're going to be faithful to our tithes. We're going to be faithful to our offering. You know, we're going to be faithful in surrendering our talents and our gifts towards God, and saying, you know, we're dedicating our lives to ministry. And that means sacrifices that we have to make. So we established that before marriage, and we got to know each other in that way. That one thing you know about us, if you personally know us, you know that we love serving. That is a joy for us. And so, you know, imagine if we were in that dating, that courting, and then, which actually happened with our past relationships, you know, part of what didn't work was we were with people that didn't want to serve. And so the value didn't line up. And so for us, it was, we're going to be straight from the get-go. We value God. We love serving. And so we kept that through. And it's so good that we talked about it, that we not only talked about it, but we demonstrated it. We showed up and that followed us into marriage. So we talked about 3 things. So our values, we talked about that in marriage, in planning for a wedding, staying within budget. Don't take out a loan for your wedding. Okay. And
don't do it. Don't do it.
Right. And, but just, you know, talking about, ourselves and our job and our income. And
I think one of the things that one of the things you have to overcome is that fear of, what if I bring this part of my past or this truth about me and that person doesn't like it? Because what if I have really bad patterns? What if I have a lot of debt that I've accrued over the years, and whether it was fault of my own, whether it's student loans, whether it's whatever it may be, right? But you're scared to show that to somebody. Well, let's walk this through, because you can show that person now, and you give that person, like, if you're scared that they're going to be like, you know what? I don't see myself in the future with you because of that. You'd rather, in my opinion, I'd rather know that now than when I get married and then that topic comes up and that pain is deeper for you and that other person because you hid something that we should have discussed earlier, right? So what we're recommending is, and what they recommended to us was, look, embrace the mess, because it's better to be honest about things now than to discover things later on that are just going to be scary and that could be a division for your marriage.
Right.
One of the things that you've learned in family counseling is that which is one of the greatest causes of divorce? Finances. Because I believe there are many times that we hide that from the other person because we're ashamed, we're embarrassed, or we're scared to bring it up, or we just sweep it under the rug, as they say, and it's not gonna come back to haunt it. I'll pay it or I'll fix it later on.
Right.
That I don't think that's the best way. I don't think that's God's design. And according to the word of God, there is a better way. There is a better way to do things, and we should not be in fear to talk about these things. We should bring it out, because otherwise we're gonna be enslaved to that past that we've never brought up.
Yeah, so definitely it's something that you want to bring up, and which we brought up in our marriage, because I had student loans, and so I went into marriage with that. So we're going to be going to a break soon, and we're going to talk about what we did in our first year of marriage. So going into marriage with student loans from one spouse, what did we do? What did we learn? What did we experience? And we pray that this is going to be helpful lessons to you. And so there are things that you can either adjust in your marriage, or if you're not married yet, you're going to hold on to these truths. So we'll be right back.
See you soon.
Ella no pierde su tiempo, no. Pero no ha llegado el momento, no. Ella sigue soltera, busca relación profunda y no con cualquiera. Con su Padre Celestial, tiene cita semanal, se ponen a conversar. Está soltera, pero nunca sola en lo personal. No se va con la presión social. Que quede claro, está soltera, pero nunca sola. Se rodea con amigas que la ayudan y la aman, y con ellas cobra vida. Del pasado no se olvida, pero ya lo perdonó y ahora está bien decidida. De donde ella mora, en su presencia ríe y llora. Muy linda, encantadora, ella se entrega toda. Donde ella mora, en su presencia ríe y llora. Muy linda, encantadora, ella se entrega toda. Con su Padre Celestial, tiene cita semanal, se ponen a conversar. Está soltera, pero nunca sola en lo personal. No se va con la presión social. Que quede claro, está soltera, pero nunca sola. Está segura de que sabe que su Dios tiene la llave. Llegará el momento clave, cuando verá que sus oraciones se hagan una realidad. Que nunca le hizo falta la práctica, no. Que los dos serán uno, bebé. Eso es pura matemática. De donde ella mora, en su presencia ríe y llora. Muy linda, encantadora, ella se entrega toda. Con su Padre Celestial, tiene cita semanal, se ponen a conversar. Está soltera,
right, welcome back to Young Love Talks with David and Doris. We are so happy to be with you and talking about marriage and finances. So before we left on our break, we talked about some of the debt that we carried into marriage. Now, when you get married, you become
one.
Is this a trick question?
Dun,
Two.
dun, 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 dun.
You looked a little scared there.
We didn't rehearse this on the break.
When you get married, you become one.
Just kidding. One.
And even like our pastor emeritus, he told us straight up on the day of our wedding, he's like, now that you're married, everything that is yours is his, and everything that is his is yours. Like, there is no, oh, this is mine and that is yours. No. Now we are one and everything is ours. And so that was something that we definitely learned first day of marriage on our wedding day. And we're so happy for that counsel and just knowing straight up that we are a team, that we are one. And so that's the first tip that we want to give to you. In your marriage, there shouldn't be any separation.
Or competition.
There shouldn't be, okay, well, you have your separate bank account, I'll have my separate bank account. Or having an account that your spouse doesn't know about and, you know, you just use it for you for whatever purpose you have it for. No, when you are married, you are choosing to be one. You're making a vow to be one. So everything that you possess, everything that you own, that is now for the other person, right? That is marriage. So I actually started logging all of my expenses, income, my budget, everything in this black book, okay? It's kind of torn here because it's been through a lot of things.
For a few years.
And it's crazy because I actually listed on here what was our debt. So not only did I go in with student loans, but I also went in with my car. And I also went in with the engagement ring. So there are things that
I financed that thing.
Right.
When I said, so, because we got married 6 months after we got engaged, right? Mm-hmm. We got married pretty fast after engagement day. But, I mean, this is kind of like going back to we were talking before the break about the patterns beforehand. Before we got married, I was a full-time student and I didn't have a part-time job. I didn't have a full-time job. So I didn't have necessarily like a big savings to say, I'm going to go get this ring. I knew that I wanted to get married. So I said, oh, why don't I just put it on a credit card? So, of course, I put
a credit line.
A credit line. So I said, I'll pay it off little by little.
As soon as we got married, I was like...
As soon as we got married, guess who lost his job?
Well, that happened too.
Yep.
That happened too.
And it taught us a very valuable lesson that anything can happen, right? Mm-hmm. You never know when you or your spouse could lose a job, get injured, get fired. You never know when you get a promotion. These are things that you cannot control. So we have to do the best that we can to control what we can control.
Yes.
So I really admired this about her because I never did this. I never logged my expenses. I had more or less, I'm like, oh, I can always go to the Wells Fargo app and just I can check what I spent. But what would happen is I would go to the, Chick-fil-A, swipe my card and be like, oh, card declined. And be like, Zane, I didn't know that I didn't have funds in my checking account. So this is something that I admired about her, that she kept a log of everything. So yes, we did come into marriage with debts that we had, done in the past.
Yes. So this is where we were babies, right?
Oh, yeah.
Into this whole, we were newlyweds, we were learning about each other. So this was the first year of marriage where we were living with each other and we were learning how our patterns were and that we couldn't escape from one another. We didn't go back to our parents' house and go to sleep there. No, now we have our own place and we are together and seeing everything. And yeah, that's one of the things I noticed with David. He would just say things like, yeah, I want to go buy this shirt. And in my mind, I'm like, I know the budget. Where does he think he's going to get this money to go buy that shirt? And it even got intense in those months where, you know, I became the main income, and, you know, we needed to buy things, and it became so tense where it was like, you know, we would argue and say, where's that money going to come from? We can't go out there and eat out all the time, or we can't go and go to the movies because there is no money. Like, where is that money going to come from? Like, I know how much money is going to come in through that income, that job. There's no other money, right? So it definitely.
I would say we just put on the credit card.
Right, and so this is where we started to realize, like, where we found God teaching us lessons. Right. So what helped us so much, and again, if you have acquired debt, this is a moment, an opportunity for you to pick yourself back up and say, I don't want to choose that anymore. So definitely don't feel any judgment that we're like, oh man, that's so awful that you have debt. We came from a past where we didn't even know where to start. And this is where God met us with his grace, his mercy, showed us and revealed his word so that we could decide, you know what, we don't want to choose debt. And also we don't want to choose debt for our future generations. Like, that is what we're declaring. So one of the first things is that we took a class called Financial Peace University, and we have the book because it was a part of the lesson with Dave Ramsey.
This is not a sponsored ad.
No, it's not sponsored at all. But it made such a huge difference for us, and this was provided by a ministry at church, one of our fellow associate pastors who was our coach, and it made a difference for us to say, you know what, we knew that debt was bad, but now we're going to put it into high gear. And in that class, I literally took my credit card and I cut it up, like, in front of the whole class, because I'm like, you know what, devil, no more. I was like, the devil's a liar. But it just helped us to put into high gear, to go against debt, and to look at debt as, you know what, this isn't good. You're right. We need to get rid of this because this is what the Word of God says. But also it helped us create goals. Mm-hmm. And this is where we started to work together as a team.
Yeah, because we're very different. As you can see, she had a log. She had a book. I had none of that. So what we began to do is we first looked at what we had, right? We looked at the debt that we had. We looked at the money that was coming in, and we started to make a budget. And we started to assign roles for each other. Because
goals and roles.
That's a t-shirt right there. Goals and roles. So the roles that we assigned to each other was that she would be the one that would keep a log. Did we have the app by that time or no?
I think we started to, yeah.
Yeah, we started to use the app.
It's a free app.
Yeah, it's a free app that you can put in your monthly budget.
Every dollar.
Yep, it's called Every Dollar. Again, not sponsored. But every dollar, and it literally accounts for every single dollar that you make. And you assign every single dollar to something. Mm-hmm. And so what my responsibility was to just follow the budget.
No.
Because I am more of the free spirit. I would be the guy that would be like, hey babe, I saw this really nice shirt. It's only $10. But when I looked at the budget, there wasn't $10 allocated for David and his t-shirt. Maybe there was $10 for groceries. Maybe there was $10 for the car repair. Maybe there was $10 for eating out. But there wasn't $10 for David to buy his t-shirt. So what we worked in a team was, all right, where are we going to send our money? What are we going to do with the money coming in? Whether it's a little, whether it's a lot. Because if you can manage a little bit of money
Yes.
When more money comes in, you can manage it better as well, because either God trusts us with more,
Yes.
or we're more responsible with more. But you have to start with what you've got. So that's what we did. We said, all right, let's make a monthly budget, and we're going to literally tell every dollar where it's going to go. So if I make X amount of money, this percentage is going to God. That was one of our values, right? This is what we're giving. This is not ours. We're not touching it. And this is what we're putting towards eating out. This is what we're putting towards entertainment. This is what we're putting towards, even if it was $10. But we started with what our monthly entertainment budget was.
Our Netflix account
was our Netflix subscription.
Gone.
That was our monthly entertainment budget.
Gone. There was a lot of things we let go of.
Yeah, we let go of a lot of stuff because we said we want to go.
Coffee shops, gotta go.
We can make coffee at home. We can watch free movies on Tubi or on my brother's Amazon account. But we made those decisions because we had a goal in mind, and that was that we wanted to get out of debt. We wanted to snowball this thing. Start little, and little by little celebrate those small victories. Pay this off, pay that off, pay that off. And fast forward, almost 5 years since we've been married?
Yeah.
We paid off every single dollar we've owed to any company, whether it was a credit card, a car, Toyota, or our university, whatever it was, we paid it off. And it's only because we took that first step and we're like, okay, we're going to be a team about this, and we're going to set a goal. And that's where it starts. So it doesn't matter where you are, whether you have a loose budget or you have a good budget that you stick to, or you don't have any budget at all. Take the first step and look at what you got and create a plan, create a goal, and assign roles to each other.
Yeah. So definitely, like we said, one of the tips is take a class, take a financial course. There are some free ones out there, so look into those. Second is assign those roles.
Going back to the class, I think one of the cool things about the class is that they help you stay accountable. That you surround yourself with people that are like-minded, and you're like, I'm not the only one doing this. I have my friends or this person or that person that is also going after their goals, and we're in this together. You keep each other accountable.
So assigning those roles, which David has been that fun part. So he's that constant reminder, like, we need to figure out the budget and adjust it so we can go on a hike, or we can go fishing, or we can go our whatever it is that we can do together, or we need something. So definitely, assign those roles with that in mind, like, what are your strengths? Another one is develop a mission statement. So this is what helped us, like, okay, who are we? What are we here on earth for, as a couple, as a marriage? And so we wrote that down. And one of the things that really spoke to us was we want to use our gifts and talents, and we want to develop generosity. And so we can't be generous if we're constantly giving our money to somewhere we borrow to. Like, that's like we're giving our power away. And so part of being debt free was then after that we'll be able to be generous. Like, this is where we want to get to, right? And so developing that mission statement for us was really important. Another one was working out those goals. So for us, it was little by little, and navigating through a job loss, because, there were times that he either didn't have a job or I didn't have a job. And so we had to work that out and still have a budget and still, honor God and still serve God. And so one of the things that I learned as a wife was, if he didn't have a job and I was the main income, it was my job to support him in a mentally and emotionally, so that yes, like for a guy it is different, and they feel a huge sense of responsibility. And so how could I support him in that area, and just motivating him and saying, we don't know what's happening right now. why the doors have closed, but we're going to trust God. We can do this. Like, this is just it.
Yeah, it was a game changer. I think the fact that we said we're going to be a team about this, that if we see that the other person is either struggling with something or doing something or being good at something, we're going to be there for each other and cover each other's backs. Because when you do that, you get to see a full 360. If I have her back and she has my back, we can see our blind spots and our weak spots, and we can help each other out. That was I think that's the main takeaway for me, that wherever you're at, if you're married, be a team about it.
Yes. You
guys are not competing. You guys are, the reason why you got married is because you're better together than you are separate and you're single. And if you're single now and you're not in a relationship, then it doesn't mean that you're less. It just means that you have the time right now to prepare such an environment in your finances so that when you get to marriage, wherever, if you're still bringing debt with you or you're paying it off or wherever you find yourself, that you come in with the right mentality. You come in with the right biblical principle, that you can say, you know what, God has a plan and God has a blessing that I want to chase after, that I want to achieve. Yeah. And I want to do this with my spouse. Yeah. So we're so grateful that you guys tuned in with us for this last hour. We hope that this has blessed you in some way, shape, or form. We highly recommend that you check out the resources that we talked about, whether it's Dave Ramsey or just Google something, connect with your local church to see if they have something for you. And if you want to reach out and ask us any questions on social media, please do so. This is at Doris Varias and I'm at David.onetime, and we'll see you there. We'll see you next Wednesday, and tune into everything that Radio Unite has in store for you. It will bless your life. So God bless you guys. Have a good night.
Bye, guys.
And we love y'all. See you.
Lead the signs to the zodiac. I don't need them, I just go attack. I make it epic, come in the air. Quit playing with me, I go really bad. All 19, listen, they gon' have to hold me back. Hold me back, yeah. They gon' have to hold me back. Hold me back, they gon' have to hold me back. Hold me back, yeah. Really on guard, yeah. Really on guard, yeah. God, yeah. The white boy with his song swag. La 11 con col blanco y negro como el yin yang. Latino gang, we don't need any wax slang. On mi back soy un caballo como el Mustang. Brr, Cartel me llamó. Brr, brr. What's up? Rompe ese video en dos. Yo le dije que si esto se acabó. Sai, quiere que le meta como yo le meto, porque saben que si le meto como le meto, prometo que los dejo en el seto. Demasiado completo, chanteo y Anthony para mí no es un reto. Bro, bájale, ey, dímelo, ey. Me estoy quedando sin oxígeno. Respiro un poco y síguelo. Señor, lo malo, redímelo, ey. Jordan Gizio, Nike, always got code. Tengo identidad sin símbolo zodiaco. Lead the signs to the zodiac. I don't need them, I just go attack. I make it epic, come in the air. Quit playing with me, I go really bad. All 19, listen, they gon' have to hold me back. Hold me back, yeah. They gon' have to hold me back. Hold me back, they gon' have to hold me back. Hold me back, yeah. Really on guard, yeah. Really on guard, yeah. God, yeah. No digan boricuas, cacos, latinos o vatos locos. Estamos abriendo el camino, cambia el juego poco a poco. Kardec en el beat, por poco el cuello me disloco. Easy, money, sniper, cuarto quarter, no me desenfoco. Con el Holy Ghost, el fantasma santo, ahora todo el luto fue cambiado en canto. Nada nos aguanta, sembramos con llanto. Somos un equipo que sabe del quebranto. El amor siempre va a impulsarme, por eso no hay nada para pararme. Caminar sin ti no quiero, ya no quiero, no, no. Y si tú no vas primero, yo no voy tampoco. Que me llamen religioso, que me llamen loco, pero no me llamen cuando él venga por nosotros. Pueden intentarlo, pero no podrán. Estos monitos no pueden contar san. Tenemos los pesos, tenemos el pan. Y hasta los giras ahora son fan. Tómalo easy, te quedas tranquilo. O el mismo mensaje, cambiamos el estilo. Soy un traficante de algo picante, pero no te lo traemos por los kilos. Traje doble filo de que la lo quiere. La fe es muerta porque no se mueve. Este dembow mezcla con el flow. Traten de imitar a ver cuántos se atreven. Dejen todo su lujo, making moves like judo, pienso en el futuro, lo tengo seguro. Lead the signs to the zodiac. quick. Yeah, this is the remix of the century, baby. Nadie en este mundo entero me va a aguantar. Soy el último, pero el primero en resucitar. Me dicen que Lucy me está buscando pa' matar. Estoy cubierto en la sangre, de pecho me voy a tirar. Tommy, todo el 19 vamos fronteando mi estilo. Es sana doctrina, pero vengo agresivo. Vino de la nada, no entiendo, no ha sentido. Pienso que está perdido, frente en pizza Rolandito. Seguidores en tu Insta, tú lo compraste, sé que son sueldos. Tienen problemas en cómo lo hago, me ven aquí que yo resuelvo. De lejos yo los observo, todos los verbos tienen boca como elbo. Como les gustan hablar y buscar, pero no mira como disierno. Leave the signs to the zodiac.